Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 25th, and right now we're looking at the Doppler radar combination across the Pacific Northwest. Here you can see it's going to be a pretty rainy day across portions of western Washington. This will sag south across Oregon today. There will be some winter weather up towards the passes, but not too much. This winter storm watch here for the Cascades is for Saturday night on in through Monday morning here, and this will probably be upgraded to winter storm watches or warnings here as we go eastbound through eastern Washington, the higher terrain, Idaho, Montana as well. So let's just jump right into things here. Lots to talk about with this Arctic air potential coming up through the extended here. You can see the frontal system dropping down across the area today, bringing our rainfall, some snowfall for the higher terrain. The colder air mass is out here. You can see it now on the infrared satellite imagery moving across western Alaska towards the Gulf of Alaska here. It's going to plow down through the Pacific Northwest with the potential for even colder air to work its way down across British Columbia on through the extended. We'll take a look at that as always. Now taking a look here, some fog is out there, some freezing fog in spots. So heads up, if you guys see that, you know what to do. Slow down a little bit. Next round of widespread snowfall. Missoula's talking about it. It's going to come through Montana as well. Widespread accumulating snowfall is possible. Timing Sunday into Monday out there. Cold and snow return. Nice graphic here from Billings, Montana, kind of showing this colder air mass going to impact much of the Pacific Northwest here. Now taking a look at what's coming today, you can see that precipitation amount coming down, weakening as it goes down through Oregon. So this is what's coming up for today. It's that rain shadow like we talked about last couple of days across eastern Washington showing up here as that frontal system sags south. Then another storm system with the main cold front as it moves across the region, introducing some colder air into the region. We'll take a look at what impacts that's going to bring here in a moment. This is total snow here in the NAM 3KM. So you can see as we go through this afternoon and evening, there is going to be some snow on the higher terrain. It's going to work its way down through Oregon also as we go on in through tonight and Saturday morning. But then we're going to get some pretty big amounts as we start to go through Saturday night into Sunday and Monday. You can see some of the Cascades getting up over towards a foot or 2 feet. Some of the areas locally even higher amounts as we go on in through Sunday afternoon shown here. Now looking at what kind of wind we can expect here. This is the NAM 3KM accumulated 10-meter wind gust. So the first frontal system just a little blustery, not too bad. The system on Saturday afternoon and evening, as you can see here, is going to be stronger. Calling for some pretty good gusts through the Puget Sound here. Strait of Juan de Fuca, some westerly surge down towards Whidbey Island here. Not showing up too much on the NAM 3KM, but it is showing some pretty good winds through eastern Washington, the higher terrain, east slopes of the Cascades as well, higher terrain of Oregon also. Let's see what the European has to say. Accumulated max 10-meter wind gust also, 40 miles per hour for Seattle. Not bad. You can see those westerly winds moving down the Strait of Juan de Fuca towards Whidbey Island there. And again, pretty good agreement on the higher terrain across Washington, Oregon. Just blustery for the coastline of Washington. Some decent winds through eastern Washington towards Idaho and Montana as well, but not too crazy of a storm here. Now looking at this is the European pressure map. We put this into motion here. I want to show you Saturday's storm. You can see the pressure start to fall across the region here. Pretty good gradient from Seattle, Portland, almost 8 millibars. That's why it's showing some gusts 40 plus across the western Washington area here. System moves down across Alberta. Pretty decent gradient, but nothing too crazy. Not like the storm we had a few weeks ago. So that moves through, and this system was what's going to introduce this cold front. You can see the Arctic air sagging down south across British Columbia with the trophy remaining over western Washington, southwest BC. Could get some convergent zone activity going through here late Sunday night into Monday morning, and could get some accumulating snowfalls, kind of hit and miss here across western Washington, southwest BC. And we'll take a look on into further next week here in a few moments. So GFS this morning on the left, yesterday afternoon on the right, 18,000 feet. You can see the first polar low, pretty good run-to-run agreement there. The GFS has been having some difficulty with the second one rounding across British Columbia here. You can see a little bit more over water on the left here. It'll be a little bit more favorable for some lowland snow west of the Cascades here versus this one on the right. Now watch as you go to the extended a little bit. GFS just not having a very good time here. This polar lobe impacting Pacific Northwest still as we go on into next weekend here. But look at this ridge that yesterday afternoon's had. So it's not doing well with the position of this polar lobe here across Canada. So that's why as we go out into later next week, things start to get really dicey in some of the forecasts here. So we don't want to concentrate too much on what's coming up through the extended here. But it looks like pretty good model agreement for 1-2-shot polar lobe attack here on the Pacific Northwest coming up though. Now taking a look here at European yesterday night's run. This is 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. You can see the colder air introduced into the region here. You can see it really set up shop over British Columbia. Cold air is a really good bet very cold Arctic air for the interior of British Columbia as we go. You can see that down through Montana as well. Pretty darn chilly across Washington, Oregon, eastern Washington as well. Then you can see this cold air try to move out over the water here, and that's what could bring a significant snowfall to west portions of the Cascades. But again, the trajectory has to be correct, and we're not going to start focusing on snowfall totals yet. We still have a few days to go to get there. We need to see how deep this Arctic air mass is and see just how the jet stream is interacting with this Arctic air mass. Now looking at Spokane, this is the European ensemble runs here. This is about Monday morning where this colder air starts to arrive, and the potential for much colder air exists as we go on through mid and later next week. As you can see here, most of these runs are pretty darn chilly here, some even with below zero temperatures showing up. So Spokane International, you can see the pattern change coming as we go through early next week. Some pretty chilly temperatures coming up here. We might not get much above freezing as we go through next week, and pretty chilly overnight lows. As you can see, interior BC is going to be locked in the ice box here, folks, as we go through Monday and on in through next week as well. Portland, it just depends on what kind of storm systems, how much cold air can move off that coast of British Columbia here will make all the difference in the sensible weather here down at sea level here around Portland. This is the interior of BC. You can see how we've trended colder here over the last few days, and it ends yesterday afternoon here, but you can see pretty cold air is almost a sure thing here for British Columbia now. Now we're going to look a little bit at the Sunday night, Monday morning system here as this slides through. You can see some convergent zone activity here picking up as we go through very early Monday morning. At this point, we could get a few localized accumulations here across northwest Washington, maybe even down through the central Puget Sound here as we go on in through Monday morning. But you can see it's going to kind of be hit and miss as this cold air gets introduced while this troughing is still over the region here, but not much moisture left to work with at that point. Now, taking a look here, you want this upper air temperature to be about -6. This is 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. So if you get that -6, you can easily drop that snow level down to the surface here, especially in any convergent zone activity. So here we're going on into Sunday morning. You can see the atmosphere cooling down quite rapidly at loft at this point. We go on to the future a little more Monday morning. Plenty cold all the way down through the Puget Sound towards Portland by this point. But again, the main snowfall threat is probably up here through central Puget Sound up into southwest BC as we go through Monday morning. The atmosphere cooling down here. We'll continue to watch this one, especially when the high resolution models coming in here for the next couple days. The HRRR will come into range shortly. Now looking at this, 100-meter wind speeds plus streamlines. Let's go ahead and fast forward past our frontal system today. The blustery system comes through Saturday. Westerly surge comes down. And then you can see as we go on into Sunday afternoon, we start to get the northwest wind coming down the Strait of Georgia here. You could get some convergence across the central Puget Sound early Monday morning. Fraser River Valley winds start to get going here as we go Monday morning as well. So we could have some convergent zone activity going on here across the region as the cold air starts to come off of British Columbia here and interacting with some weak southerlies across the Puget Sound or the northwest interior. And you can clearly see the Okanagan River Valley, another cold air conduit out here, introducing cold air into eastern Washington by Monday morning as well, as north winds start down the Puget Sound all the way towards Portland by Monday afternoon. So here we're looking at, we're going to look a little further out here now. There goes today's system. Here goes Saturday's system, windy with the potential for a little snowfall, northwest interior Washington, central Puget Sound, southwest BC. Then the next system will roll in here. Will it start as snowfall? Will it remain snowfall? How far south will this low pressure go? But you can see as it rotates around and the cold air starts to sag south across BC, pretty good pressure gradient here. Then we could be introducing some more widespread snow across portions west of the Cascades as well as much of the Pacific Northwest here. And then we're not even going to look at the extended at this point. We have enough to look at this at this juncture. This is Seattle, Tacoma. You can see as we go through midweek here, there are some significant snowfalls showing up here in some of the runs, but we're not going to get too excited about any amounts here snowfall wise. And here would be Monday morning's event here. You can see a little bit of snowfall showing up in the central Puget Sound there. But again, we'll look at this a little bit more and start to go for some details here when the high resolution models come into a range here in the next day or two. Here's Bellingham here as well. You can see a little bit of activity here with that Sunday night, Monday morning as a convergent zone activity will be active up there. Potential significant snowfall coming in through mid and later next week. You can see there. Portland, same thing. There is snowfall potential all the way down to Portland here. We'll continue to watch that. We'll see what kind of Arctic air can get its way down into western Oregon there. Spokane, you can see potential for snowfall as we go mid and later next week as well. Now, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, you can imagine this is probably going to trend a little bit colder as well. As you can see, the below average across Pacific Northwest in both the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So yeah, we don't want to get too caught up in the details on snowfall amounts yet here across the metropolitan areas. We want to see the high resolution models get in range. We're still not quite sure just how strong this second low of Arctic air, or how it's going to come off the coast of BC and how much cold air it's going to bring down to the surface here west of the Cascades. But we are going to get very cold across British Columbia, and that can easily start to interact with places like Seattle and Portland as we go on in through next week. And there's probably going to be surprises whenever you bring Arctic air down into the region here this close to the Pacific Northwest. There's going to be surprise systems that end up happening with this. Like sometimes these individual low pressure systems can hang up over certain areas, or you can get little systems that form in the northwest flow with this Arctic air nearby, and we can get additional snowfall that we did not anticipate just a few days before. So we'll continue to watch things. We'll do this again tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day. It's going to be rainy out there across Seattle, and then we're going to get a little bit of a break. We're going to bring some wind down through here Saturday night, and then the colder air is going to start to arrive as we go through the day Sunday, and maybe even a little bit of snowfall across the area Monday morning, with the potential for that bigger Arctic blast here as we go through mid next week. So yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow. Leave some comments below. Let me know if you guys are seeing anything at the higher terrain, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.